The RBI has put out its monetary policy just this week. It has kept benchmark interest rates constant, but it has changed the growth outlook for this coming financial year, increased it by 0.1% from 6.6 to 6.7. This, of course, coming in the context of the West Asia war, the sliding rupee, the concerns over AI taking over jobs. So it's substantially less than what India clocked in the previous financial year. What is the economic picture as far as India is concerned? What is the outlook for this current financial and, let's say, for the next few years? We've also seen recently the Gen Z protest that happened in Jantar Mantar. Of course, the proximate reason for it was the paper leaks. But overall, is there also concerns, particularly for young people, on jobs, the quality of jobs, and the wages that these jobs are providing? Joining us now for an overall look at the country's economic picture is a member of the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council, Professor Gourav Vallabh. Thank you very much for joining us on Frankly Speaking. So let's start with the RBI policy. Of course, the rates have been unchanged, but the growth outlook has been increased by 0.1%. But that is a full 1% lower than the growth that India clocked in FY26. Now, is it because of the West Asia war? Is it because of oil prices? Is it because of the weak rupee? What do you attribute that to?
See, there are many reasons. Some of the reasons you had pointed out. There are many other reasons. But one reason which I feel is the global uncertainty. And there are 3-4 big reasons of global uncertainty. One is war. Another is the trade and tariff policy of US. Another is the US-China trade issues which are still not resolved. And fourth one is the global supply chain disruption, not only at the Strait of Hormuz, but these small disruptions are happening at 2-3 major choke points also as far as the sea routes are concerned. And still, when we are talking about this, only I can say 4 months of the current financial year had passed. So let's see how this fiscal is going to progress. The forecast can be changed. And there are many examples in the past that Reserve Bank or the global agencies were predicting 6.6, 6.7% at April, May, June, July, August. And by the time we reached up to February or January, the forecast had moved to 7.3, 7.4, 7.5%. But you are correct that in the FY26, as far as the real GDP growth is concerned, it was 7.7%.
Yes.
And the Reserve Bank had forecasted 6.7%. But still, all said and done, India is still the fastest growing economy of the world as far as large economies are concerned. IMF is forecasting the growth rates at somewhere around 6.6, 6.4%.
Yeah. They've in fact reduced it.
But that was for the calendar year, not for the financial year.
But it was earlier 6.6, they've reduced it to 6.4.
6.4. But I can give you some good lights also in this 6.7 or 6.4% of these agencies, that the private final consumption expenditure or the gross fixed capital formation both had grown more than 7.5% in FY26. Second thing, which is more important, is that whether it's a secondary sector or tertiary sector, both had grown to 9%. There is a growth rate. In secondary sector, precisely it was 8.8%, and tertiary sector it is 9.3%.
Okay.
So there is a broad-based growth in our economy. We are not growing only in few sectors, and other sectors we are not growing. That's not the problem in the economy.
Okay.
There are global uncertainties. There is an impact of those global uncertainties. We are coming out of those global uncertainties as fast as possible. So lastly, I will say the world is moving towards Bani, but India is bankable.
India is bankable. Okay. Let's talk about the secondary and tertiary sectors you just mentioned, because the manufacturing PMI just came out a few days ago. While, of course, the government says that, India will reach $5 trillion economy by FY29. This is what the manufacturing PMI said. It slipped to a 5-year low on weak demand. In July, it slipped to 53.5 from 54.2 in the previous month. In fact, the long-run average of this series is 54.2. So we are almost 1% lower than that as far as the July PMI is concerned. And the reason I'm asking you this is because, as you very well know, manufacturing is required for large-scale jobs, particularly for young people. this weak manufacturing? I mean, isn't that a point of concern?
See, I will not call this as weak manufacturing by seeing only one data point. I am having the year ending March 2026 data points with me. If I will capture only the merchandise exports, which is there from our country, which is close to $450 billion as far as the material is concerned. If I talk about the PLI has realized more than 2.5 lakh crore rupees of investment. And PLI had enabled over 15.5 lakh crore rupees of the export from our country. And PLI had helped us to move into a manufacturing of medium and high technology oriented stuff, so whether it's a mobile phone or chips or maybe something where technology and manufacturing has to combine together.
But why are we seeing this weakness over the last 4 months? I mean, one of it is the war, obviously, you mentioned that.
Maybe because of the volatility which is happening.
Okay.
Another is the disruption in the sea routes. That's also creating a major problem. But the good point is that the next phase is not only make in India. Now, the manufacturing sector is moving towards design in India. The manufacturing sector is moving towards own IP in India. The manufacturing sector is moving towards brand from India. So Make in India is the base. Now we had moved to the second step of the manufacturing, which is design in India, own IP in India, and brand from India. So Indian brands are taking the lead, especially in the engineering goods, as far as the manufacturing is concerned, especially in the pharmaceutical, especially in the sectors where high-end technology is required. It's not that I am manufacturing this because at the mass scale. India had moved in the specialized skill in the manufacturing. I gave you a few examples where green technologies are used, or whether orange economies are used, or whether the high precise engineering is used. So we are competing with the global giants of Germany or global giants of Australia in high-end manufacturing, and we are defeating them.
But Professor, tell me, I mean, despite all of this, the single biggest market, Western market, the single biggest trading partner that India has, which is the United States of America, we've still not been able to wrap up a trade deal with them. There's still uncertainty around.
There are many reasons for that, and I think the major reason is because till the time this West Asia issue is not resolved to its conclusion, I think doing a trade deal with US is something which I can say that may require future interventions. Once this conflict is going to conclude, then only things will move in a positive direction. But from US also.
Let me ask a larger question on FTAs itself. Last I checked, India has FTAs with more than 25-30 countries. Why is that not translating into more robust manufacturing growth, more robust exports, more jobs for our young people?
See, what FTA facilitates? FTA facilitates that there will be no tariff. But ultimately, the production should be there, and those production require 3 C's: capability, capacity, and capital. When I say capability, because all these countries have a very rigorous, their entry barriers, non-tariff barriers, which we call. So those non-tariff barriers are really tough to crack. The tariff is only one barrier, but I feel that these countries, especially in the Europe and the other developed nations, there are non-tariff barriers with those nations.
No, but isn't that the whole point of an FTA?
I'm coming to that.
Both tariff and non-tariff barriers.
I'm coming to this. So first step is removing the tariff barrier. Now government is hand-holding the MSME to have the capability, to have capacity also is required, and providing capital with there is a trades framework, trade discounting framework which government had enabled for MSME. So I will say that the tariffs or the FTAs are the entry point. We cracked that entry. It's like prelim exams.
Yeah.
Now the main exam is still pending. So, but until and unless you are not going to crack prelims, you are not entitled to write mains exam. So you cracked the preliminary exams. Now it's a mains exam, and in mains exam there are requirements in, as far as the capability, capacity and capital.
Okay.
And government is hand-holding them.
Let me come to this whole dream that was sold by Mr. Modi's government about India becoming a $5 trillion economy, fourth largest. May last year, we were fourth largest economy, surpassing Britain. Now, by both IMF estimates and by the government of India's own estimates, in fact, the finance ministry has also told Parliament that we will reach a $5 trillion economy only by FY29. IMF projection is India will become the $5 trillion economy and will become the fourth largest economy by FY31. So we have to wait another 6 years.
See, IMF estimates are based on their global uncertainty estimates. So they are not appreciating that globally developed nations are having issues. But India had an advantage of 4 Ds. And I say finance is the fourth D. So no country in the world which IMF is tracking is having these 4D. No country in the world is having domestic demand which can equate with the India's domestic demand. No country in the world is having a demographic dividend which we are proud of, which India is having. No country in the world is having the digital depth which India is having, whether from UPI to the all sort of lockers, digi lockers which are there in our country. And no country is having discipline what we are having. Our fiscal deficit or foreign exchange reserves are at all-time high. Fiscal deficits is one of the lowest in the recent past.
No, so why then?
So I'm coming to that. So those estimates or those IMF saying that India will achieve this by that time, they are not appreciating that we had grown at 7.7% real GDP growth in FY26, where no country in the world was growing, no developed nation in the country of the world is growing at 2.5–3%.
Can you tell me by when will we get to fourth largest economy in the world? By when do we get to this $5 trillion economy? Because we have been sold this dream for the last 10 years.
This fourth largest, if you talk from the dollar perspective or from the rupee perspective, there are different answers. But I can tell you very categorically that we are right now in FY27. By FY28, India will be the third largest economy of the world. Forget about fourth.
No, but that is not either the IMF estimate or the Ministry of Finance's estimate.
For that, you require only 8% growth. I had done that 8% growth. We will be the third largest.
But are you confident we'll reach 8% growth in FY27?
FY27, FY28, our average growth will be 8%.
Average growth will be 8%.
It is bound to happen.
Okay. Now let me come to the other indicator, which is the rupee. And I'm sure you have been asked this question many times. The Indian rupee has been the worst performing currency in Asia in 2025 and in 2026. It has hit a lifetime low of 96 to the US dollar and has depreciated since the start of this year by 6.5%. What are you doing to fix this?
See, right now, rupee is not moving as it was moving 2-3 months back.
Okay.
Why it was? Prices had gone up like anything. And forget about going up, there was a disruption in the logistic movement of the crude oil prices also. But the way we handled those 3-4 months, when there was a big disruption in Strait of Hormuz, and still we had managed the free movement of petrol and diesel from our pumps to the retail consumer, then that gave a confidence to the global agencies of the world that it is not that we are going to have there will be some big shock we will have if this disruption is going to happen. We had managed that well. We had moved to the other modes of transport, EVs, hybrids, the mixing of other kinds of fuel.
No, but so, I come back to the rupee question. We're still at 95.
I'm coming to that.
Even today, the rate is 95.
But you gave a data of 96 point something, which was all-time low.
Yeah.
So, number one, that the impact on current account deficit, which the global agencies of the world felt, we were not having that much impact on our economy, point number one. Point number two, that because of the US interest rate movements, the foreign institutional investors which were investing in our capital markets and other markets, they had started taking the funds back to their
Yes.
domestic currency. This was the second reason.
Yes.
To a certain extent, we had stopped that, but we require reversal. We had stopped. The outflows had gone down drastically. But it's not, the stopping is not going to help us. We have to reverse it out. For reversal, the global uncertainty has to settle, and I am with all responsibility, I am making a statement that fundamental level of INR with the USD is somewhere around 90, 91, 92. The rupee has to rebound back to that level once there is a reduction in this uncertainty in the global environment. So this what happened to our currency, there are two reasons of that. And we being a 140 crore population country, the fuel consumption of our country is higher than many of the developed nations which are not having crude oil from their own sources.
So one of the responses of the RBI was the special foreign currency window, which is already apparently, last I checked, has attracted close to $40 billion.
FCNR.
Yeah, $40 billion in inflows. And there are some estimates that it could even go up to $100 billion. Now, if this is the case, then how should ordinary Indians interpret this? Is the RBI's objective to strengthen the rupee, or is this a foreign exchange buffer?
For ordinary Indians, no need to worry. Our rupee fundamental level is 90-91 level. The rupee is mandatorily, it is supposed to bounce back. Let the uncertainty settle down for some time. Then this rupee is going to come back to the fundamental level. Our exports, our imports, our foreign exchange reserves, there is no dent in all three of them.
No, but isn't the concern, Mr. Vallabh, that the external position, India's external position, the RBI strategy seems to be on strengthening that rather than defending the rupee against this free fall, because a weaker rupee also makes, as you said, imports like crude oil, electronics, machinery, etc., much more expensive, and that affects household budgets, that affects inflation.
That's true. But I am asking a counter question to you, that after all these things, is there any significant impact on retail inflation in our country?
Well, the RBI's outlook is 5.1 now.
So that is still in the range of 4% plus minus 2%.
Correct.
The other countries of the world, what is happening there? Still we are in the range of the Reserve Bank of India's outlook.
Okay.
So,
but it's increasing.
Forget.
It's increasing.
I'm saying for 1 minute, please keep aside the RBI's outlook. I'm asking, is there any significant impact on the retail inflation of the middle class families of our country?
No, you have increased fuel prices by 4 times in the last 3 months.
But what's the percentage, Zaka?
No, but it has gone.
I'm asking what's the
in Delhi, for example.
My question is, what is the percentage? 7%.
Yes.
Across the world, you name any country of the world. I challenge you, name any country of the world which you remember. Don't give me names of the small country with a population of 1 lakh or 5 lakh or 10 lakh. Name any significant country of the world which is having less than 15% of the hike in their petrol and diesel prices.
No. But to say that it has had no impact on inflation is also
I agree.
erroneous.
I had made a statement. There is no significant impact on the middle class or the lower income group families. No significant. There is an impact. I agree. Because earlier retail inflation CPI was somewhere around 2%. Now RBI itself is telling 5%.
5%. Okay. No, but here's the thing. Why then is there a feeling in middle class India that they are saving less, the quality of their jobs is less, that the future for their children seems a little less, or let's say more uncertain than what it was in the last 10, 15, 20 years?
I don't see any reason of this kind of pessimism at all. India is having a very bright future. Indian economy is having a very bright future, and I am making a statement. Indian economy is having right now the capacity to take on its shoulders the entire global economy, because this is the only, I can say, brightening spot in the global economy. All economies are going dull, or stable, or there is a decline in their growth rates. Indian economy is still, forget about my own estimate, IMF is telling us 6.4%.
6.4, yeah.
So, and that too for the calendar year 2026.
Correct.
So 6.4% IMF is saying, name any country of the world for which IMF is saying 6.4%.
No, it may say 4% for China, but China is 5 times bigger than India's economy.
I agree, but growing, everybody is having the common platform. Now, they are growing at their platform, we are growing at our platform.
No, but they are growing at 4% at a $20 trillion economy, and we are growing at 6% at a $4 trillion economy.
Somebody is ahead of us, and we are, for example, behind of them. But for them, the growth, the impact to make the thrust will be more or less same, na?
Okay.
Their growth engines are of $20 trillion. Our growth engines are right now of $4.3 trillion.
Okay. Now let me come to the final part where, and I'm asking you this because you had written an op-ed also about this, about the Gen Z protests, and you had said that this was about listening, responding and reforming. You said the Education Minister's resignation, the Nandan Nilekani task force, and of course the amendment to the Public Examinations Act, you believe has set a benchmark for how government should respond to large-scale public opinion and public protests. But can I ask you, Professor Vallabh, it took the government a month and a half to even begin or initiate talks with these protesting students.
No, it's not like that. Government was doing, in 2024, there was another committee for exam reforms. That committee had suggested few steps. Some of the steps were executed also. So it was not like that.
No, but the leak happened again.
What I tried to say, what I tried to say in that write-up also, the people who are against Prime Minister Modi, the opposition leaders, what was their first argument against Prime Minister? That, साहब ये सुनते नहीं है, ये लोकतंत्र में विश्वास नहीं करते. Had you seen any Prime Minister after independence who is as democratic as Prime Minister Modi in last, the way he had handled, the way he said that, okay, मैं इन सब बच्चों को माफ करता हूँ, the way he listened, the way he acted. I will give you 3 instances, 3 examples, and which is a big thing for me. Task force, who is the chairman?
Ms. Nilekani.
Nilekani is known person, he had contributed many things. But it may be that he had contested election from the Congress ticket, but he gave a message to every professional of our country that when it comes to the country, the resource of country is the resource of India. It is not the resource of X or Y or Z ideology. When I am saying I know something to manufacture this mobile phone, and when country requires, then my capabilities are the country's capability. That is the first message. The second message, which I say the message of openness, empathy, and in Hindi I will say udarta. That what is not said about him or Prime Minister's family or Prime Minister's mother, you and me can't listen those kind of words, and for me, first time I listened those kind of words. But he came out, he responded. Not only for that, every day he was trying to respond. That okay, आज हम ये कर रहे हैं, हम परीक्षा सुधार को लेके आ रहे हैं, हम इसको आगे लेके बढ़ रहे हैं, हम आपके कहने के अनुसार ये कर रहे हैं. There are few issues. I admit there are few issues in the examination, but I don't want to make a political arguments here on your show. It is a very interesting show. We are not here to meme. But these exam paper leaks are there across all the states. Forget about A party or B party or C party. Whether it is Jharkhand Mukti Morcha of Jharkhand, whether it is Congress Party of Karnataka or Congress Party in Himachal or Congress Party in Telangana, whether it is 2018 to 2023 Rajasthan Congress, yeah. 19 paper leaks. I am not going into those meme kind of debates.
Okay.
But there is a systemic problem. Prime Minister came ahead and accepted that problem and reacted with Udarman.
Okay. I'm going to end on a slightly lighter note because India has changed, its economy has changed. Gourav Vallabh has also changed from 2019 to 2026. You are now on this side of the political divide. You are a big, bitter critic of the Modi government, particularly its economic policies. What has changed? Why have we now suddenly seen Gaurav Vallabh saying that we are fastest growing economy?
I gave this answer to this question many times,
Of course.
but for you, this is the first time with. See, there also I told Rahul Gandhi ji कि साहब ये सुबह शाम लोगों को गालियां दो, अंबानी को दो, अडानी को दो, टाटा को दो, गोदरेज को दो, सबको दिया. Why? Because they are wealth creators. And what is the funny part of that? कि सुबह 3 बजे तो अकबर रोड से गौरव वल्लभ से आप गालियां दिलाते हो और उसी दिन शाम को 4 बजे जयपुर में अशोक गहलोत माला पहना रहे. ये मजाक है क्या? What is happening? 3:30 बजे आप गौरव वल्लभ को कहते हो प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस करो अकबर रोड से और 4:15 बजे रेवंत रेड्डी वहां पे फूलों की वर्षा कर रहा है. ये क्या हो रहा है? So I told him कि साहब abusing wealth creators is not a great idea. Wealth creators are not sinisters. ये कोई पापी लोग थोड़ी हैं. कोई wealth create करता है, जैसे अभी मान लो किसी ने entrepreneurship से wealth create करी, had he or she committed any crime? तो मैंने उनको रोका. I am talking from the economic perspective. Then he said that your mindset is not stable. I told मैं इनके खिलाफ प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंसेस नहीं करूंगा. I told them. और आप किसी को तो बख्शोगे. आपने टाटा, जब एयर इंडिया का टाटा ने मर्ज किया, टाटा के खिलाफ कर दी, गोदरेज के खिलाफ कर दी. अरे भाई, at some point you have to stop somewhere, ना?
Okay.
And so that is the point number 1. Point number 2, Zaka, there are some issues which are compromisable. Like, I came to your show. If you had not offered me tea, I don't mind, for example. But there are some points which are uncompromisable. Like, I came and for 1 hour, nobody came to me and asked, can we do a show? And you gave me a time. So there are some uncompromisable things in everybody's life. For me, the uncompromisable thing, I told Rahul Gandhi ji, and not once, many times, I told Mallikarjun Kharge ji, not once, many times, and all decision makers, I don't want to name them, कि भाई भगवान राम का अगर मंदिर बना है तो ये कोई एक पार्टी विशेष का मंदिर नहीं होता है. ये देश की आस्था से जुड़ा हुआ मसला है. और आप अयोध्या से निकलते हो पर डेलिबरेटली वहां नहीं जाते. अरे भाई, what you want to prove by doing all those things? This is the point number 2. And,
okay.
And one more point, because you asked a question, and the third point, that you can't ask. Zaka asked a question and Rahul Gandhi responded, नहीं, तुम्हारी पहले जाति बताओ, तुम्हारे एडिटर की जाति बताओ. अरे ज़का, तुम क्या जाति बता के सवाल पूछोगे? एडिटर की जाति बता के सवाल पूछोगे? Where you are moving? Which direction you are moving? अरे कम से कम अपनी दादी को तो सुनते, जो कहती थी जात पे ना पात पर मोहर लगाओ. अरे उन पे तो उनकी बात तो सुनते. तो ये सारी चीजें ज़का मैंने लगातार उनको कही, एक बार नहीं, लगातार. एंड आई गेव ए डेडलाइन ऑल्सो कि भैया इस तारीख तक ये नहीं किया, क्योंकि ज़का मैं यहां पर ये XYZ पाने के लिए नहीं आया. I was having a very wonderful career, and I am proudly, I can tell on your show that I was one of the youngest full professor in India. At the age of 32, I had become full professor. And that I had become based on my research outputs and based on my academic background. So मैं वो सब छोड़ के यहाँ पर आपके कॉम्प्रोमाइज अपने अनकॉम्प्रोमाइजेबल चीजों से कॉम्प्रोमाइज करवाने नहीं आया था आपके पास. So that is the basic reason.
Right.
And Professor Gourav Vallabh is at that time also was always for India. For me, nation first was always there at that moment of time at 2019 also. Today also I am saying nation first. India is a bankable, Indian economy is having a wonderful future.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, Professor Gaurav Vallabh, for joining us on Frankly Speaking. Thank you.